Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today I want to talk about the day I realized our monetary system, not only in the UK, but the rest of the world, was fraudulent and there's something wrong with it. I've spoken about this before, but as I'm getting more and more new subscribers, and also as a refresher, the other thing I want to talk about that I've just seen in the Fed's website, because I was looking to see when the next FOMC meeting was, and I've just realized that they had intra-meeting meeting. They had an emergency meeting, an unscheduled meeting, and they didn't even publish that or make it, how can I say, public. But if you go to their website, I've just seen here, October 4th, unscheduled. So yeah, have a look right here. That was the day they decided to start doing QE again. They didn't even announce that meeting. So I'm sorry, that's a crisis right there. Back in the '08 crisis, they had to have meetings, unscheduled meetings, because there was a crisis. So there you go. Amazing. That's how they're operating right now, and we're not supposed to have a crisis, right? So we do have a crisis right now. So let's go into the day I realized the monetary system was fraudulent and there's something wrong with it. By then I had already started looking into gold, the history of gold, the history of money. And why did I do that? Well, I decided to buy some gold coins back in 2002. I was working in the city of London. I was a futures and options broker. My clients were institutional clients, the banks, fund managers, treasury officers from big companies all around the world, mostly, of course, in Europe, but some in other places around the world. So, yeah, I when I bought my first gold coins, Krugerrands, and I recommend in the UK people to get sovereigns, by the way. But anyway, that was in '02. I started looking into things with the internet. Of course, you read a lot. I started getting into the Austrian School of Economics, free markets, sound money, right? But one day I went out for lunch. I used to work in Bishopsgate in the city of London. I went to get a sandwich or something else to eat. And then I was putting some of my change back in my wallet. And I saw a 20-pound note. I haven't got one with me, but I've got a 10-pound note. And for some reason, walking down Bishopsgate back towards the office, I saw that note and it just clicked. And I read the note. It's bigger, the 20-pound note. The notes are getting smaller, as you can see. It used to be bigger. And just below Bank of England here, it says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £10. It says it right here. Very small, but it says it. It's supposed to be a promissory note, right? And the 20-pound notes are still quite big. I haven't got one, unfortunately. And they're going to change that. They're going to become smaller, and they're kind of plastic as well. But back, let's see, this is from 1951. I bought this one a few years ago. And this is a 5-pound note. And you can see that the promise is much bigger here. Bank of England promised to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £5. 1951, August 31st, Bank of England. There you go. Collector's item. I think, I'm not sure, I think I paid over £100 for this, but I'm keeping it. I bought it a few years ago. Could you exchange that for 5 of these back then? No, you couldn't. But they still had a huge, they still kept the fraudulent, they're hiding in plain sight, right? I think what it did, it made people think that one day they'd be back to redeeming, you being able to go to the bank with one of these, a £5 note, and getting 5 of these, because that's what a sovereign was. Back in 1914, that was the last time you could go to the bank and take one of these, a £5 note, and get 5 of these, right? I'm not sure if they probably had a £1 note as well, and you could go and take one of these. But with the war, right, crisis, they suspended that. And from what I've read, it's actually the banks themselves who stop redeeming promissory notes for real money, for gold, for sovereign, right? Because of the war. So now, during the war, World War One, they could just print, as it was an emergency, they could print as many of these they wanted to. They didn't have to make sure they had enough of these. I'm sure other people have thought, like I did almost 20 years ago now. When I saw that, I thought to myself, and this was probably back in 03, 04, so before the financial crisis, and I knew then that something was wrong, that things would not be great. And lo and behold, yeah, we had the crisis of 08. The UK banking system collapsed almost. They had to bail it out with a huge injection of debt or cash on the back of the taxpayer, right? And they still keep that promise. It's a fraudulent promise, right? I've called the Bank of England before on the phone, talked to them and asked about that. And what they tell me is that this promise is so that if your note is damaged, you can go to the Bank of England and they will give you a new one. And my question was, so why don't you write that on the note? Why don't you say, we'll give you a new one if this one is damaged? This doesn't make sense, right? I promised to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £10. £10 of what? Nothing, right? And then there's the euro note as well. I've got €5 here. I did go to Florence a few weeks ago in Italy. Well, at least the euro note, it's not even a note, it's a piece of paper. And it's got euro written on it in, in different alphabets, I guess. Because you've got the Greek alphabet and you've got different languages as well. But actually, the ECB has decided not even to write that it is a note. So it just says euro. It does say ECB here, the different initials for the ECB in different languages. But there's no promise or anything. At least it's not trying to seem like it's something else, right? Well, and I've also got here a United States of America silver certificate. So it's not a Federal Reserve note. So it's $1 there. I bought it from Stax, numismatic company in the States, in New York. So it's from 1935. This is not a fraudulent note because it says $1 in silver payable to the bearer on demand. This certifies that there is on deposit in the Treasury of the United States of America $1 in silver payable to the bearer on demand, right? So you see, that's not a fraudulent note right there. That was the day I realized there was something wrong, and it's a very easy thing for people to understand. And is it any wonder that this is not taught in schools about money? The only thing I think they teach about money in schools is how to manage your money, right? But they don't go deep and look at the notes and people, because people would be asking questions, right? So let's look at the markets now. It's 10 to 8 a.m. London time. Yesterday, stock market again rallied towards the end of the day. We had the same kind of action we see in gold again and again. We see gold and silver strong overnight in Asia, Europe, and then when the US comes in, of course, they sell it off, right? We saw that again. But this morning, gold is at 1485, so it's up slightly, still within that range. Hasn't gone as high as yesterday in the 90s. Range has been 1481 to 1486. Silver is down a cent at 1755. Outperformed gold yesterday, but of course drifted down as well towards the end of the day with Crimex and the shenanigans, right? So yeah, we're down a cent. Range has been 1744 to 1762. Stock market rallied yesterday, especially the Nasdaq 100, or the Nasdaq composite, was up almost 1%. The Dow was only up 0.2, and the S&P was up 2/3%, and it closed above 3,000. So right now the Dow is up 33, 26,860. The Dow future. S&P is up another 3.5 at 3,009. The Nasdaq 100 future is up 0.2% at 79.52. Sterling is unchanged, 129.65. Euro unchanged as well, 111.48. The dollar is down slightly against the yen at 108.59, and dollar's up slightly against the yuan, Chinese yuan, at 707.24. WTI crude 53.33, down a quarter. Brent is also down a quarter at 58.60. So not much direction in the oil market of late. And the bond markets, I've noticed that yields are creeping up. The 10-year yield is at 180 now, so that's up almost 1 basis point. And the 2 years at 162. So yields are going up again. Interesting that FOMC had a meeting, an emergency meeting, and they didn't even tell us about it. Well, they're telling us on their website that they've kept it quiet, right? And the monetary system, at least here in the UK, it's hidden in plain sight that it's a system that's totally fraudulent. A promise to pay something that isn't there, right? And people still accept it. It's amazing, isn't it? I accept it because that's the way we're forced to pay our taxes with this, right? And all the shops, all the businesses, they're forced to accept this. There you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share it far and wide as well. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, think about subscribing. You can also follow me on Twitter, Steemit, and on DTube. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.